In this video, we're going to review how to texture paint. To texture paint, we're going to need to do a few steps first. We'll create a new material, UV unwrap our object, add a blank texture to our material, and paint the object. To do this, we're going to start off with the cactus model we created in a previous video. To simplify our process, we're going to merge the top of the cactus. While in object mode, hold the gesture button to enable multi-select and choose each part of the cactus. Then we'll use Merge Object. Next, we'll switch to Materials mode. With a new file, we'll see that we only have the default material at first. To texture paint, we need to have a custom material, so we'll create a new material and rename it. We'll also lower the metallic and smoothness sliders here. We'll select all pieces, including our cactus and vase. Then we'll assign the current material to the objects. We could add a texture here for painting or load an existing one, but texture paint mode will also automatically add a texture if needed, as long as you have a custom material assigned. Now we'll switch to UV mapping mode to unwrap our object. Unwrapping is important because texture paint will be saved on a flat 2D texture. This UV unwrapping assigns how this 2D texture will map to our 3D object. By default, each object will be in an auto unwrap mode. This can be handy for painting things like repeated tiles, but isn't what we're looking for in this case. To unwrap each piece, we'll stay in object mode, select it, and select UV Smart Unwrap. Next, we'll choose the vase and also UV Smart Unwrap. Texture paint works best when there are no overlapping pieces. When we select both, we see that there are a bunch of overlapping pieces right now. To fix overlapping faces, we'll switch to face mode and select part of the vase by tapping it. Double tapping the gesture button will select all faces of that object. In the UV editor on the right, we can use the resize and rotate handles to move the current selection's UV maps to the top right of the texture. Jumping back to object mode and selecting all, we'll see that we still have some overlapping pieces. We're going to repeat these steps to make sure that the vase's UV maps are no longer overlapping. Now that we're happy with the result, we'll switch over to texture paint mode. Here we have the ability to switch the radius of our paintbrush and the hardness of the edges by changing the sliders on the left. You are only able to paint on one material at a time. If you have more than one material, you might need to select a different one from the drop-down on the right. Also on the right, we can hit the Pick Color button to change the color we will use to paint. Let's choose a different color and tweak the size, and then drag on the object to paint. That's all there is to texture painting. We can switch to UV mapping mode again and choose to show that texture in the background of the UV editor. Now we can see how our UVs map to our actual texture. Let's finish painting our cactus. Let's paint one object at a time, and to do that, we'll switch to model mode to hide an object. Jumping back to paint mode, we'll select a green color and paint our cactus. We can also change the size of the brush using the radius slider and choosing a slightly darker green to draw a little face. Switching back to model mode, we'll swap our object so we can only see the vase, and we'll switch back to paint mode again to paint it. Now that both of our objects, the vase and the cactus, are painted, let's swap back to UV mapping mode so we can see our final painted object next to its UV texture. That's everything for our texture paint video. In another video, we'll review how to import this cactus into Unity 3D, a popular game engine. Thanks for watching.